clear, right? Mashiach has not come yet. You know what Mashiach Torah is? Mashiach Torah is that which is not clear. It's clear, and it's not clear. And here, friends, I want you to open your hearts. What's Torah Shebal Peh? I'm learning a posuk, and suddenly inside of me, something is telling me there is something deeper than I know. There is something in that Torah deeper than I know. And until I get it, I don't know, I got to break my bones. You know, friends, anybody who learns Gemara and every word he knows, they'll never learn anything. They'll never know. The only way, you know, I was once, I don't want to say anything bad, and again, I'm not knocking people, but I was once, like in a certain school, I don't want to mention names, they're learning Gemara. You know what's the saddest thing in the world is? They learn one page. Ask them, do you know it? Says, yeah, I know that page. But you'll never learn, right? You know what learning is? You walk around, mamish, and you for 1,000 years you don't know. And it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, every word. You know what the craziest thing in the world is? Today people walk around Kabbalists. You know what the Kabbalist is? Anybody to whom Kabbalah is 1 and 1 is 2, is doch schon ungerecht, right? Because what means Soidus HaTorah, Soid Hashem Lirev? That means it's clear and it's unclear. And you know, friends, why is it that the deepest secret we can only talk to the closest to us? You can only whisper them. Because it is so delicate. I can't even say it loud. I'm afraid it'll become 1 and 1 is 2. I want it, even after you know it, I still don't want you to know it. Here I want you to know something very deep. Why didn't God get all the Yidden together and told them, I'm getting you out of Egypt? The same thing God did on Mount Sinai. God could talk to all the Yidden. I want you to know whatever happens to all the Yidden is a little bit clear. Moshe Rabbeinu, in the name of all of Israel, Moshe the Mamish, the Tzaddik Neman, B'chol Beisi Nemanu, words of redemption are given over to him. And that word of redemption, Mamish, it's clear, not clear. And God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Atu Sireh. And here I want you to know the most beautiful, the deepest depth of the world. You know what Eretz Yisrael is all about? Eretz Yisrael is mamish, the most unclear thing in the world. It's the most unclear thing. It's clear and it's unclear. Right? And listen to this deepest depths. Moshe Rabbeinu, the biggest prophet in the world, doesn't come into Eretz Yisrael because it's Mashiach's territory. Mashiach is unclear, right? You know what's unclear when Mashiach is coming? Kamayim layom achasim. You will know everything like waters who cover the ocean. What's there to cover? Mashiach is coming. I would say it's like 2 apples lying next to each other, and you count 1 and 1 is 2. The deepest knowledge is that deepest depth. You cover like the ocean. And here everybody knows. Listen to this. You know what the spies? What was the sin of the spies? And I want you to know, on a level of clear prophecy, it was clear that Eretz Yisrael was not fit for us. They walked in. They were students of Moshe Rabbeinu, right? And they have eyes, and they see the clear prophecy. It's a disaster. And if you remember what they saw, they mamish saw the Chub Mabais. They saw when we're going into Eretz Yisrael, people were driven out, and there's mamish. I could swear to you, they saw the Inquisition, they saw the 6 million, they saw everything which left to the Yidden. Who needs it? Let's stay in the desert. And again, I'm sure you learn Chumash deep. The Meraglim were not just, little politicians, board of directors went there, and the government paid for the trip, you know. They had a good time, they came back, and they said, we spent a lot of hours doing research about the country, you know. That's for sure, they were mamish the biggest tzaddik in the world. And you know Yeshua and Kolev, Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David? You know what they saw? Unclear, right? They say we don't know, but they know one thing, Tov Oretz Ma'at Ma'at, right? So deep. It is so deep. It's deeper than knowing. It's deeper. This is mamish, the tree of life, the Eitz Chaim el Machzikim bo. And just remember, I'm not talking now about scientific knowledge. I'm talking about Torah knowledge. Torah clear. And this is even deeper. This is even deeper. And here I want you to know something. Do you know for Yosef at Tzaddik everything is clear? Mamish, everything at Tzaddik, everything is clear. You know who's the one who operates out of darkness? About sure, I don't know anything. Nothing is clear to me. But I just know one thing. Something has to happen, right? It's mamish like the moon. When does the moon begin? When there's no moon at all. It's mamish dark, right? I don't know anything. This is the time, God says to Yidden, I want you to know, coming out from Egypt, being redeemed, is like Kiddush HaChodesh. And you know the most beautiful thing, Lechter Acharei Bamidbar, schlepping after Moshe in the desert? Why wasn't it clear? Nothing is clear. I don't know when my food is coming tomorrow. I don't know anything. Mamish Lechter, I'm going behind God in the desert. Gewalt, right? And here, if you remember, we're learning it very deep. God says to Moshe, go up to the mountain and I will show you the land. Let me ask you a very stupid question. Moshe Rabbeinu has clear prophecy to the end of the world. And for Moshe, in order to see Eretz Yisrael, is to go up a mountain? It's a joke, right? You know what that means? God says to Moshe, go up to the mountain. I want to give you that prophecy, Mashiach prophecy. I want to show you the land, not on your level prophecy. Clear, you can see Eretz Yisrael where you're standing. I want to show you on the level Kamayim Layom Achasim. Like the waters cover the ocean. That's a different Eretz Yisrael. Gewalt is that different. And I want you to know the deepest depths, friends. On Shavuos we celebrate that God gave us a Torah, but the sad thing is we made a golden calf after that. You know when we're dancing with the Torah on Simchas Torah, the Torah is covered. We're not reading it, we're just dancing with the Torah. You know why? Because on Simchas Torah I dance with Mashiach's Torah. Kamayim Leyom Achasim, everything is covered, right? So deep, it's so deep. And you know what's so special about it? There is, on a clear prophetic level, there's no way for redemption. Go out, there's so much trouble even. On all of it, what's the way out? What's the way in, right? Gewalt. It's all Kamayim Leyom Achasim. It's all covered. It's all covered in the deepest, deepest, deepest way. And it's so covered that Moshe Rabbeinu says, Moshe says, I don't understand it. And now listen to this. This I want you to mamish, it's Gewalt. Moshe Rabbeinu comes to the snare, and he says, Madua layiva snare. I can't understand it. You know what that means? God says to Moshe, I want to elevate you to a level that you don't understand. Moshe the prophet, Mamish Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Noiretzon Achamidva, Mamish Moshe Rabbeinu has the highest God revelation all the time, right? Mamish suddenly he sees, I don't understand what's happening with Yidden. And if you know the Medrash of Zohar Kodesh, Madua leyiva asnei Mamish is so Yidden amach burning in Golis to Mashiach is coming. It's Moshe Rabbeinu saw everything will happen to Mashiach is coming. I don't understand it. So God says to him, Mamish, now listen to this. Moshe Rabbeinu says to God, I know all your names. What is that name of you which nobody understands? And one more thing, which is the closest, the deepest. Gewalt. You know the name of God's redemption to the world? It's the closest. What is closest to me, even closer than anything in the world, is my own redemption, right? It's very close to me to keep Shabbos and to eat kosher and to daven. But you know what's mamish the closest, the deepest moment in my life? The deepest moment in my life is my own redemption. Baruch Hashem Gol Yisrael, right? That's the deepest, right? That is obviously, on a whole level, it hasn't happened yet, right? God hasn't redeemed us yet. Because even Mitzrayim was just, like the Gemara said, Solopot, it was a little bit. It wasn't there 100% yet. And you know, friends, when did Eden have for the first time a real Mashiach vision? When we crossed the Red Sea. Ad Yava Am Hashem. Why by the water? Kamayim Layom Achasem, right? It was clear, they said, say Keli Manveu, but they said, Tahoymel Tzchas Mamash, it's covered up, right? It is and it isn't. And you know what it is? The truth is that every word of the Torah, mamash, every word of the Torah can redeem us. Right, okay, I think we did lots It's good, yeah? I'm missing too many parts. What?
This is Bernie. We have this slideshow.
Who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Good, a little bit. It's too much missing now. A little bit. Yeah, that is nice. Take the whole second part.
Yeah.
Well, you know, oh, you bring them. Oh, good. How you doing, John? What's going on? Sharp like a dog, right? You don't want to sit here? Yeah, come sit here. Bring your chair, Joe. We'll sit next to me. There's one more chair here. Do you mind? Can you sit on the floor? And give my nephew a chair. We'll see if the balbos. Okay. Joe, you want to say some holy words first? Not yet? Okay, Chavra, can we mamish concentrate?
Thank you.
Okay, fast, folks.
Everyone just move back. Necessary stand up, but let's just get things started. People really shouldn't need to block the door because there's quite a bit of room there. I don't know, I think this corner is as nice as this corner. People could fill that up first and have room here for people coming in.
And Mamela came also?
Could maybe a few more people hanging around here move to the other side so
Maybe I'll
we'll
move
have
there
more
then.
people at home. There's more room back there if you want to just walk.
There's about 2 million miles open here.
Josh, that's for Josh and his guitar.
Where's he?
He's coming in.
What?
Lock the door open, there's plenty of room over here in the back.
Okay, we have 5 policemen.
Where they all come from, brother? From Jordan? There's so much space up here. I see about 2 million miles open space here.
Josh is beside you? No, who's beside you? Yeah, the other side. Okay, someone can place the leg
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're asking them somewhere else.
What?
You see, normally we fit 50 people here with tables and chairs, so they should be able to fit everyone else without them.
Yeah, Mamish. So bring in some tables, we'll see. Okay, everybody knows that Kabbalah said utmost concentration, yeah. You know, Sefer Bereshis is dealing with the creation of the world, and Shema is the redemption of the world. And the difference between the creation of the world and the redemption of the world is very simple. In order to create the world, you don't have to go through so much pain. On the contrary, the world was created yesh ma'ayin. There was nothing before, and God created the world. Creation always means there was nothing before, and I'm creating it. Redemption doesn't mean there's nothing before, suddenly I'm redeemed. Redeemed means gewalt, they go through so much pain, so much suffering. I'm just so desperate. Something else, in order to create, you don't have to be desperate. I'm talented, I create something. Redemption, unless you're mamish desperate, doesn't happen. If you're not desperate, you don't need redemption. Creation of the world is not, creation doesn't need somebody before who needs it. The guy created the world, there's nobody there who needs it. Who needs it? It's not a question of needing. It's created, right? Listen, when God helps me, I make a new niggin. Somebody was desperate for new niggin. The word was there before, my niggin will be after the niggin, will be the same, right? God makes make a new niggin, right? Some other stuff. It's sweet, right? Redemption is something else. Redemption, in order that there should be redemption, someone has to be there. Okay, so in Bereshis, two things are happening. God creates the world, it's the creation of the world, and it's the creation of the house of Israel. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. And in fact, if you remember, Rabbi Tzedek Cohen says that wherever the Torah says the word for the first time, this is where the headquarters is. The first time, I might be mistaken, but I think so. The first time we find the word redemption is when Yaakov says to Yosef, "Hamalach hagoyel oisem mikol." That means Avraham and Yitzchak did not need redemption. They didn't. They just paved the way to build the house of Israel. Yaakov Avinu and Parshas Vayechi is paving the way for redemption. Okay, so there are two people of the children of Yaakov who needed redemption the most. Yosef HaTzadik needs redemption from outside. Yosef HaTzadik is never a slave. His brother sell him as a slave. He needs redemption. His redemption is he becomes the king of the world. Yehuda needs a different kind of redemption. Yehuda's redemption is that he finds his brother again. So this is Mashiach ben David Mashiach. One redemption is we should stop being slaves, whatever it is. We'll go into it later. And Yehuda is a different kind of redemption. Yehuda is, the redemption is that I made so many mistakes and I can't live with them anymore. Can't bear it anymore. My whole life is so destroyed. And I destroyed so many other people's lives. What are we going to do? So I need redemption. Okay, now, we were learning it a little bit and I want to tell you again. The difference between Egypt and all the other exiles is very simple on two things. On the other exiles, we're not slaves. We're just in exile. We're not in the right place. In Egypt, we're mamish slaves. Mamish slaves. And the Sofet Shuvah says a Gewalt Torah, and it's very good to remember. You know, all the other exiles, Baruch Shem, we have already the Torah. They're already people. They have Torah mitzvahs. is the exile is only physically, outside. Inside, what's the whole thing of Seder night? What are we celebrating Seder night? What were Yidden in Auschwitz celebrating Seder night? They were celebrating that only their feet, their hands, their skin is in exile. The inside of a Jew is untouched. And just remember, Moshe Rabbeinu is Netzach. Whatever Moshe Rabbeinu does is forever. Because you'll ask, Moshe, if you remember, why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu take us into Israel? Because if Moshe Rabbeinu would have taken us into Israel, nobody could take us out. Moshe Rabbeinu gave us a Torah, so you can hang yourself. The Torah is still there, right? The lowest Yidala has a chelik in the Torah. Torah to Moshe Marosha Kehilas Marosha Kilas Yaakov. The lowest Yidala, a Yidala who eats a hamburger on Yom Kippur, and while he's eating the hamburger, is playing golf, and he has a chelik in Yom Kippur, right? It's given to him. Nothing you can do about it. So what Moshe Rabbeinu did to us, Moshe Rabbeinu basically took our soul out of slavery. And sad enough, mamish slaves will never be. I mean, they'll be in Golas, we could even be slaves, but basically the mission of Moshe Rabbeinu is Tavnu es Elokim al ha'orazeh. Moshe Rabbeinu took us out to make servants of God from us. We took out slaves from Egypt, and we became servants of God. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is doing. But I want you to know something else. Moshe Rabbeinu also is doing a Gewalt thing. Moshe Rabbeinu, and basically we'll go back after the Yosef and Yehuda. I don't know where to start. Let's start here in the middle. This is two Torahs. I was learning the Shabbos. I'm going to relearn it with you. Okay, now listen to this so deep. You know, when God created the world, God says, let there be light, there was light. God says, let there be fishes, it's fishes. And I want you to do something else. Even the Torah, the words of the Torah, when God redeems us, it's crazy. You know, when God says to Moshe, take the Yidden out of Egypt, what happened? Nothing happened. Not only nothing happened, Moshe Rabbeinu comes back to Moshe and says, Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't understand. Here the Rebbe tells me I should redeem the Yidden. So Moshe Rabbeinu assumed that every word of God is doing his thing, right? God's word is a fact. God says to Moshe, obviously I'm not the right messenger because it means I cannot carry your message. Because if I would be able to carry your message, something should have happened on the level of redemption. And the truth is, not only Yidden were not redeemed, the slavery became even stronger. However, I need more concentration. Really, can we just... So Moshe Rabbeinu asking God, what is with your words of redemption? Why don't they work instantly? And listen what he says. This is the deepest Torah. You know, the word of redemption which God gives for redemption can only be redeeming if it's redeemed itself. You know, when God says, let there be redemption, this word has to go into slavery first. And God's word needs redemption. And when God's word is redeemed, this is when the Yidden have redemption. You know how deep this is? Redemption is not their slavery, and redemption comes from outside. Suddenly God says, okay, it's enough, it's not 12 o'clock, let's redeem them. That's not redemption. Redemption is so deep, is so awesomely deep, that, so to speak, even God needs redemption. That everything holy in the world is in exile. You know, without getting involved, you know, Geval is a word in exile. Geval is God in exile. Geval is Eretz Yisrael in exile. Everything is in exile. Okay, just bear with me. Where does redemption begin? And here I just want you to open your heart in the deepest way. You know that redemption is the deepest thing in the world. There is nothing deeper than redemption. Because if there was anything deeper than redemption, that means there is anything deeper inside of you where redemption doesn't reach, so you're not redeemed. Right? And friends, I want you to know something. When I build a house, I can build half a house. Half is built, half is not built. Redemption, you know, and Geula L'Chsoy. The Gemara says, as a Lashon Gemara, you cannot redeem half. Or it's redeemed, or it's not redeemed. Redemption has to be complete. Something has to happen to me in the absolutely deepest place of my being that I'm redeemed. Okay, now let's start over again. You know, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov left so much holiness for us. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov left so much holiness for us. And it's all very, very beautiful. But let me ask you something. How deep does that reach? Would you say that the deepest part of you is that holiness which you inherited from your parents? No, Baruch Hashem, I'm a Jew because of my father and my mother, right? But you know something? It's not the deepest yet. It's not the deepest yet. You know, I know there was one God. I believe in God. You believe in God. We all believe in God. You know, for me to say that God is the deepest thing in my life, that's a heavy statement, right? Sure, I can tell it. I can put an article in the paper. Statement. I said God is the deepest thing in my life. Thank you very, very much. Go on. So what happened after? Then 5 minutes later said, you know, I need some coffee, yeah? All in the same sentence, right? Where does God begin? Okay, let him out fast.
One in, one out. One out first.
Do you have anybody to bring it?
Sure. If you can get maybe Chetzke.
Chatzke maybe.
Oh, Adina.
Adinale. Sister, we need you badly.
In the bookshelves in the other room, there's a look at it. It's on Mishulach, Reb Nachman. So
Bring it on Gimel.
Chelik Aleph on Geula.
Yeah?
I think it's Aleph a bit.
Okay, friends, if you can give me more concentration, because I just have to throw in one more important thing. You know, to keep Shabbos, to be a tzaddik, is not so much individualistic. Okay, I'm sure everybody's a holy tzaddik, but it says va'amech kulam tzaddikim. Right? Everybody's a tzaddik. Everybody keeps Shabbos. Everybody puts on film. Tshuva, you cannot say everybody's doing tshuva. There is no such a thing as everybody. Yeah, even if everybody's doing tshuva, the Gemara said yochet sheshav. There's only one person who's doing tshuva, and each person can be that person. Because doing tshuva, gewaltig setting, right? What is doing tshuva? You know, we don't want you to open your hearts. I wasn't crazy. I thought, whatever I do, I don't need God and I don't need Yiddishkeit, so I'll make it. I did my thing. So then I realized it doesn't work. It doesn't. You know what I'm missing? It hasn't touched the deepest depths of me yet. You know, when we talk about tshuva, I don't mean the cute little about tshuva that you read in the Jewish press, you have to keep Shabbos, goes out and says, okay, I'll keep Shabbos. Talking mamash about Mashiach tshuva, right? The real tshuva. The real tshuva is, I'm running around in the world and I realize it hasn't touched me yet. God has to give me something deeper than that. It has to be deeper than all this. And I want you to know, you see what it is. And here I just want you to open your eyes in the deepest way. How does the exodus of Egypt begin? The exodus of Egypt begins that God says to Moshe and Aaron, HaChodesh hazeh lochem, the halach of Kiddush Levana. That we count after the moon and we have to sanctify the moon. Everybody knows, and I want you to open your eyes in the absolute deepest way, everybody knows that every Rosh Chodesh we are bringing a Korban Musaf, we are bringing one sacrifice, and God says, Hevir olai kapora al shmiatis yireh. God says, I want you to bring a sacrifice to atone for me that I made the moon smaller. You know, if God forbid somebody would say that on his own, would be blasphemy, right? The Gemara says so, and just remember, it'll all make sense later on. It's just so deep, so deep. First, on a simple level, you will start getting involved. You know what redemption is? What's exile? Exile is I'm functioning, but not from the depths of my heart. Not from the depths of my heart. And you know, exile doesn't mean I'm doing something wrong. Basically, the people in Egypt, they're holy people. Like the Ishmael said, they didn't do any affairs. Mamish did everything 100% right. Did everything right. What was missing? It wasn't from inside. Disconnected from inside. Right? Or what is redemption? Well, what's the deepest redemption? Redemption is that mamish, it's coming from the deepest depths of my being. So here, what he says. You know, Moshe Rabbeinu, I need one more ounce of energy because I'm getting off. In the middle of Kiddush Lavona, listen to this. So just remember, redemption of Egypt has to do with God doing tshuva. Because every Rosh Chodesh, God is doing tshuva that He made the moon smaller. Awesome, right? That means redemption is the deepest kind. Redemption and tshuva is the same thing, everybody knows. What's tshuva? Tshuva is mamish. It has nothing to do with being right or wrong, right? And again, I want you to know, everybody knows that doing tshuva is the highest fixing of the tree of knowledge. You know, you can be a tzaddik on a tree of knowledge level. My head tells me this is Shabbos, I'm a Jew, I've got to keep Shabbos, I'm keeping it. I learned in the Sefer you have to give tzedakah, I'm doing it. It's all tree of knowledge. Tshuva is tree of life. Because it has nothing to do with knowledge, has nothing to do with knowing. I don't even know it's right or wrong. I just know one thing, Shuvu Elai v'Shuvu Elech. You know, friends, I'll tell you something, when you meet somebody on the street, if you love them a little bit, so you think, oh, should I say hello or not? I'll say hello. It's tree of knowledge saying hello, right? When you meet someone I love the most, do you have to think? I'm running, right? I'm running. What's Pesach? Why aren't we walking? Why are we jumping? Because Pesach is not thinking, right? Matzah is not thinking. Redemption has nothing to do with thinking. Because if you can think first, if you want to be redeemed, stay a slave, right? Stay there. Now listen to me, Vayigash Elav Yehuda, right? Everybody knows that Vayigash, when Yosef met his brothers, they paved the way for the redemption in Egypt. Yosef paved the way for Yidden being in Egypt, and Yehuda paved the way for the redemption of Egypt. Right? The Yosef Hoyu Mitzrayim. Yosef paved the way that Yidden should remain holy in Egypt. This was Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef puts us on our feet that even if you're in the lowest depths, you're still holy, you're still a Yid. That's Mashiach ben Yosef. Vayigash Elef Yehuda, Yehuda comes and he redeems. And it says, Yosef couldn't control himself. What was going on there? Because even Yosef is the holiest tzaddik in the world, he's thinking. Yosef tzaddik is thinking, is this a good time to tell my brothers, should I wait, should I not wait? It's still the tree of knowledge, or thinking. Vayigash Elef Yehuda. Suddenly he meets with Yehuda. Yehuda is about Tshuva, the Baruch Hashem Gol Yisrael. Everybody knows that Krishna is Yosef, and Shemona Esrei Gol Yisrael is Yehuda. There's no time to think. You know, friends, you know what a slave is? A slave is somebody who gave up on wanting more. That's it. What's a Jewish slave? He goes Rosh Hashanah to shul, once a year sends $10 to Israel. My children go to Hebrew school. I have a wife and a maid on the same level. I have children, I have an office. And also, every time I go to Acapulco, what else? Sometimes I go to Israel. All the same. Slave, right? Slave consciousness. You know, then there's some people mamish burning up inside for something deeper, something holy. Mamish gewalt. And again, just remember, how does the redemption of Egypt begin? Not because it was so terrible. It begins, the Egypt says, mamish very clear, the redemption began by its Akiv and Yisrael Hashem. He mamish began crying from the deepest depths. And you know, friends, we were praying all the time. When someone chas v'sholom whips you, you cry, right? But you know something? You can be a slave for 210 years or never really cry from the deepest depths of your being. You're such a slave that you don't even cry for your own redemption from the deepest depths. And you know, the Ishmael says the deepest Torah in the world. You know why they weren't crying yet from the deepest depths? Because it wasn't time for redemption. At that moment when the gates of redemption were open, you know what happened here below? Suddenly we began crying from the deepest depths. From the deepest depths of their being. Now listen to me. If you remember it, we're learning it a lot of times. What was the moon claiming to God? The moon comes to God and says, it's not fair. Two kings have the same light. Let me ask something. So what's so terrible? There were a lot of rabbis. I know a lot of times when the Chotkeva Rebbe, the old Rabbi Schroll passed away, and he had two sons, Reb Nochem and Reb Doiv. And until Reb Doiv passed away, Mamish were sitting together, two brothers, taking kvitzach, talking to each other what to do. And it was Mamish like Moshe and Aaron, right? Two kings cannot have the same light. Especially, you have to realize, it was the first day of creation. There was no machloikis yet, no killing, no fighting, no hating. What's the moon suddenly saying? Two luminaries cannot have the same light. What's bugging him? Did the sun insult him or something? Did the sun say, hey, I'm bigger than you? He says, no, I'm bigger than you. He says, God, you better make it clear who's bigger, right? It wasn't this way. You know what it is? The moon was saying to God, can't you give like a deeper light to the world? There has to be something so much deeper than that. He says, both, we have the same, right? That's all there is to it. He says, one of us, there has to be somebody who is deeper than that. And you know what the deepest thing in the world is? Everybody knows, the Zohar Kodesh says that the moon does not pick up the outside light of the sun. The moon picks up the inside light. And you know, the inside light doesn't have to blow your mind. It's not like daylight. It's little light. You know, friends, you can listen to a big lecture, this, I don't know what, learn 10 years about Judaism and the race Cornish, right? And you walk by the holy wall and one Yidel Mamash tells you one word, the little moon word. Gets to the deepest depths of your being. You know, friends, take it on a very simple level. Imagine two people love each other and they stare at the sun. Do they love each other more? Nothing happens to them. Because the moon doesn't reach into the deepest depths of your being. The sun, I mean, yeah, Mama, thank you. Imagine you love somebody very much, you look at the moon together. The moon is reaching so deep. The moon is something else. Now listen to this. The first sign of redemption is that you're connected to the moon. And you know what redemption is? Also something so deep. Redemption is not you're redeemed once and then you're redeemed. Redemption is like the moon. You need constant redemption. You know, some of our kids doing tshuva, once Wednesday, December 12th, they did tshuva and now that's it. There's an FPT, you know what that means? Famous about tshuva. All those PTs and FPTs, right? It's cute. I'm not from knocking it, it's the fault of the people never teach them. Former bunches, pretty good, yeah. Now Tzaddik, yeah. Now Z. FPT and Z. Now Tzaddik, right? Okay, Hashem, I'm just joking. But you know what it is? Redemption is mamish all the time. And you know, if you remember, the Medrash says, Bayakel doesn't say Hamalach Hagoal Oisi in the past, who did. Hagoal Oisi Mikol. You need redemption every second. Because the true sign of redemption is that every second I want more and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Now listen to the steeper steps. Gewaltig said deep, and just really want you to open your heart. Rabbi Ege says that whatever there was to be understood, whatever a human being can understand about God's ways, the way God is leading the world, is B'chol Beis Hineman and Moshe understood everything. The only thing it was not given Shanun. And everybody knows, Rabbi Ege says, it was given to it. What Shanun is, it's so deep that it's always like you don't have it yet, right? Okay, let's forget about the Shannon. Whatever is possible to understand, Moshe Rabbeinu understood. So he says, obviously the way God was redeeming Yidden was so deep that even Moshe didn't understand. He comes to God and says, Shlomo, his mamish, I don't understand it anymore. So far I understood everything. I understood the way you created the world. I understand Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov. I understand everything. But here you tell me, you send me for redemption and it doesn't work. Moshe Rabbeinu says to God, I have no hasug in redemption. I don't know what it is. And you see, Moshe Rabbeinu thought that God needs somebody who understands redemption. You know what God says to him? Redemption is deeper than all that. Shmi Hashem la nidati Mamish, you know, Shem Shin Dalet Yud, Mamish, God created the world, He gives to the world, that I can understand. Shmi Hashem la nidati. The deeper than all this. And not, it's so deep that I can't understand it. I don't want to understand it. I want it to be beyond. It's so much deeper than it. It is so awesomely deep. You know, friends, when you love somebody and you understand why you love them, forget it, right? And you know why I sometimes don't like so much the way people handle shidduchim? Because it's all head stuff, right? He is 6'4" and she is 6'4". He weighs and she weighs the same. He likes screen, she likes screen. She likes satma meat. He is dying for satma meat, right? She likes Yerushalayim Kugel. He likes Yerushalayim Kugel. Mazel tov. What else do you need, right? And I want you to know something, sweetest friends. You know what it means? It's called out in heaven, Baskro. The people are called out in heaven. You know what that means? It's not for you to understand. It's not for you to understand. You know, the Rabbi Shlomo gave us a Torah here of Salami, of Shabbos, means there's a Torah which comes down to the world. The Torah of relationships is a heavenly Torah. It doesn't come down. I want you to know the deepest steps. What's the function of Moshe Rabbeinu? It says, Bo Moshe v'harim la'od. Moshe Rabbeinu took heavenly Torah and brought it down to the world. And you know what happened here in the last Pasha? Moshe Rabbeinu has not brought the Torah down yet to the world. But the way Moshe Rabbeinu brings it down to the world is not that suddenly you understand it. It's so much deeper than understanding. Different kind of understanding. And friends, I want you to open your hearts, mamish, again in the deepest way. I have to put something else in. You know, there's two kinds of knowledge. One is two. It's clear to you, right? Let me ask you if it would be clear to me that there is one God, like 1 is 2. Think it would be beautiful? Who wants it? Who wants it? I don't want to know God on 1 is 2 level. If you'll ask me, if it's clear to me, like I say, 100%, what are you talking about? What? It's a completely different thing. You know, if I would love somebody else on the level of 1 is 2, it's not called loving. It's a machine. It's a Coca-Cola machine. And here I want you to open your hearts in the deepest way. There is two kinds of prophecies. There is mamish, basically Moshe Rabbeinu is Aspaklar Yamir. Moshe Rabbeinu is so deep and so holy, mamish the Torah is given him clear. To Moshe Rabbeinu, everything is 1 is 2. But here I want you to open your hearts. The Torah of redemption is so deep that even to Moshe it's only given. I know it and I don't know it. You know, friends, I want you to know it would be a holy book written by the Baal Shem, and it says Moshe Meir Sprinze Yankee Meir Chana, and comes my name, this. How deep would my relationship be? You know what brings people so close? Because it's the most unclear thing, and deep, deep inside, it's the most clear and most unclear thing, both together. You know, friends, can I mamish make clear to you how you should serve God? It's an unclear prophecy. Every Yidel has his own, not clear prophecy, because clear prophecy is not the highest. The highest is the unclear mamish inside. My heart tells me. Let me ask something. I wake up in the middle of the night, and I don't know. Should I learn for 5 minutes? Should I go back to sleep? Do I know like 1 or 1 is 2? I should get up. But the Rabbi sends me like a little message, unclear. Mamish, unclear. Oh, it would be beautiful if I get up and learn. Right? You know, sometimes we want to do somebody a favor. I'm not sure, should I? It's not 1 and 1 is 2. It's unclear. So beautiful.